Dobry вечера, good evening. I guess it's still afternoon here in Odessa. It is 3:20 local time, 15:20, and you can see the iconic Odessa Opera House right behind me. Just let me know that my audio is working. I had an issue on my previous live stream for the Geopolitics channel. Second time it's on that channel. I don't know what it is that causes. I saw it on a few other YouTube channels. So you've come here because you've seen the title. Last night, Odessa, here on the shores of the Black Sea, Odessa has suffered its biggest rocket attack by Russia since the beginning of the Russo-Ukrainian war. Even if we go all the way back to 2014, the city wasn't directly affected by the Russo-Ukrainian war until 2022. We did have one incident at a day of violence here. I think it was like May 2nd or May 3rd, 2014. But other than that, the city was untouched. Fast forward to 2022, obviously we had the full-scale invasion. The Black Sea Fleet, the Russian fleet at one point was off the coast here, threatening the city. They had gone as far as Mykolaiv, which is a city about, is it 3 hours from here? I haven't been there for a few years. So I filmed it extensively on my vlog here. And then they went north when they couldn't get across the river to Voznesensk, which would have been another road down to Odessa. And that is as close as they've come. However, they have regularly hit the city and the city's infrastructure. Over the years, they hit the cathedral here in the center of Odessa and badly damaged it with one rocket strike. It was probably 2 summers ago at this point. And last night, we had our biggest rocket and drone attack on the city of the war. First of all, during the day, Russia, they hit a Turkish cargo vessel that was in the port. I saw the huge billow of black smoke. It was very loud explosion. I also saw a video of it afterwards on social media. So it didn't look too accidental. I just basically targeted that Turkish ship. The Turkish leader Erdogan met with Putin yesterday. So kind of interesting that Russia immediately blows up one of their Turkish ship afterwards. Last night, there were well over 400 drone attacks. When I read in the local media here, I think it was around 460. Ukraine claims they shot down 90% of the drones. Actually, from my window, I saw 2 of those drones been shot down out of the sky. There is obviously a pretty loud bang, not as loud bang when they shoot down a rocket. And I could see the flash in the skies as a result of that. Also, I could hear at times drones buzzing near to the building, which is obviously pretty disconcerting. And we had very loud explosions from the rocket attacks. Rockets, Ukraine is way less successful at shooting down. It depends on the type. They have Kinjal, Iskander, Galibir, and one other one type that I'm forgetting the name of. I think there's 5 different types. With some of, I think the Galibir, they can shoot down about 50%. And there was another one type that they got 80%. However, they weren't able to shoot down the Kinjal, for example. And yeah, that means that most of the rockets got through. Obviously, those rockets are very big and they very powerful, and they targeted the city's energy infrastructure. That was clear. The city has no electricity today. We don't know yet how long it's going to take to rectify that situation. And actually, I remember when the electricity went out because kind of after 1 or 2 of the rockets that I heard, I could see that there have been explosions on social media because they weren't where I was exactly. Then, the lights flickered once or twice, and then when we heard another loud bang just shortly afterwards, the electricity went. So that is the situation in the city. So in today's live stream, drop your questions and comments there as I go through a little bit of presentation about what's going on and describe the situation, particularly if you're considering coming to Ukraine or you're just interested in the situation here on the ground. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kader Klein. I help high-level men with living their best lives in a region that I refer to as New Europe. So basically I help my clients with a handful of countries that would be here in Ukraine. Obviously, with the Russo-Ukrainian war since 2022, that is not the main focus of this channel, although I am here so much that I like to give these kind of public announcements, kind of public service to let you know what's going on the ground and help those guys in general who are coming, or women who maybe come across this live stream as well, who are going to come here to Ukraine at this time. But basically, at the moment, I'm helping my clients more with countries like Kazakhstan, Moldova, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Poland. May also be going to Czechia and Romania sometime with clients. So if you look at the content on this channel, it's designed for guys who are high level, who want to come here and spend, not necessarily as a tourist, although you could just take, if you are going to be a tourist, you could also just get a lot of value out of this channel. It's more for guys who are considering a more long-term move, either relocation or just spending a lot of frequent trips in the region in general. So I used to have the biggest channel for lifestyle in, well, high-level lifestyle for sure, in Ukraine prior to 2022. I had been here during the COVID period for the 2 years, and I documented just about every part of the country. Prior to that, I filmed a good bit in Belarus as well, once in Russia, and once a couple of times. I think I filmed once in a few times in Romania and Poland, actually, when I look back at it, and in Moldova, the neighboring country here. So that is the background. If you are planning to come here, as always, I have my guide for coming to Ukraine during this war down below. Got the logistical information, how to stay safe as possible, pertinent at the moment, logistics and safety, and also my hospitality guide for the best cafes, restaurants, bars, shisha lounges, and cafes in cities like here in Odessa, Mama, and capital Kyiv, Chernovtsi, Uzhhorod, and Lviv in the west of Ukraine. Also have a similar guide for Moldova, where I have an excellent vineyard guide, because that is a country that's renowned for its wine, and also hospitality guide for Chisinau. They should be down below. I had to do this live stream set up on my phone, so if it's not there, it should be there in the description. But if it's not, I'll add it in as soon as we get off, or you can find it in the last few videos, live streams in their descriptions as well. So with that out of the way, this is an impromptu live stream from Odessa because of the events of last night. So I thought it would be worthwhile, also because when a regular viewer of these live streams, he told me this morning that yes, he is going to come to Odessa. I think he said to say tonight or tomorrow. But anyways, so he is someone who will be obviously very keen to know what's going on exactly. So here in the center of Odessa, you can see there's lots of people out walking. We haven't had any air alerts for a few hours at this point, and the city is basically running on generator. I guess I describe my own situation. Maybe it's give you a little bit of a good example. Don't have any electricity at home. It has been a problem over the last 2 weeks. Ironically, yesterday was the day that I had the most electricity. I'm not sure it even went down until we had these rocket attacks that were very heavy. It was, and still it survived the first few rounds of drone and rocket attacks. So maybe that's why they decided to strike today in part, or last night in part, because it seemed like the situation had gotten a good bit better than it had been. Russia regularly targets Ukrainian infrastructure during the winter as a way of putting psychological pressure on the local population here. Not really sure that historically what the thought process really behind that is. Normally this just creates a rally around the flag effect for local people. They go through the same hardship. It's not considered something that works normally, although Russia has done this also in places like Syria, where they destroyed cities, and they do this in the east when they have east of Ukraine when they have the capability. Getting close enough, they try to destroy everything basically and take it over. Here in Odessa, electricity was struck a few times as part of that strategy. It is now the same situation maybe as the winter of 2022, which was the first winter after the extended invasion by Russia of Ukraine. That obviously took place on February 24th. And that at that point, I was waking up quite a bit with no electricity, no running water. I have running water still, not sure for how much longer. They need to get it fixed. We probably have some sort of tank maybe in my building that's allowing me still to have a shower and keep clean. Hopefully that continues, or until they get it sorted out. Probably I would expect that it will be very limited electricity for a few days at least. Hopefully that's as bad as it is here in Odessa. Obviously, in other parts of the country will be different. Maybe there's full electricity, especially if you go further to the west, or maybe it's on a less limited basis. So that is what it's like. As I I made a huge number. I made several live streams during the summer. I will put the links to those down below if you're watching this on replay. And they were described the logistics of coming here in Ukraine, what the danger level is. You can see like Odessa, obviously that's very different to being near the front lines. President Zelenskyy, he went yesterday to Kupiansk, which is a city in Kharkiv Oblast that the Ukrainians have just taken back, which is quite a coup because Vladimir Putin, the Russian leader, had already announced, and the Russian official already announced that he'd captured the city 2 weeks ago. But then Zelenskyy is able to film a selfie video in front of the sign to the city, this stele that's on the outskirts of the city saying Kupiansk. So that was a very big development yesterday. There are a lot of things that have been going on with the Russo-Ukrainian war. Obviously, we have the negotiations that the U.S. is trying to batter the the Ukrainians psychologically with, which I've reviewed a few weeks ago on this channel, the original 28-point capitulation plan that Donald Trump signed off for to try and pressure Ukraine into basically succumbing to Russian aggressive will here and setting Ukraine up basically to be to fall to Russia, maybe not immediately, but definitely in the medium to a long term, and apparently make some money out of it for him and his family. Looking at that, he would have been in charge of basically, it seemed like the reconstruction to a certain point, which is kind of mad, and get his hands on those frozen Russian assets that are in Belgian bank. So all this is going on at this time. If you are considering coming here to Ukraine, frequently asked questions I get is like, do you need a visa? Not if you have a passport from a country that has visa free with Ukraine. I think you need 3 months validity on your passport when you come here as well. And those are going to be countries. Everybody's going to be watching this is going to be going to have a passport that allows them to come here. So if you're from North America or you're from most of Europe, with the exception of Russia and Belarus, you're going to have a visa free to visit here. It's going to be 90 days every 180 without needing a visa. So basically, you just have to show up with your passport. And then the quickest way to get to Odessa is from the airport in Chisinau. It's about 4 to 5 hours from the airport by bus. There are buses leaving all the time from in front of the airport, or you can go to Garaden the North Station in the center of Chisinau and take a bus. Those are the ones that come here to Odessa. If you're trying to go to, say, Lviv in the west of Ukraine, then most people are probably going to fly into Warsaw or a city in eastern Poland, maybe like Lublin, or another similar airport, maybe Katowice is, well, it's not that close, or Krakow. So I think most people are going to fly into Warsaw. Then you could take the train or a bus to Lviv, and that would be your way across. Border crossings in general, not very long, normally an hour. Sometimes it gets delayed, it might be a couple hours, but in general, it's an hour. Maybe 1 out of 10 times there's going to be some delay, and then you might be stuck for a few hours. So you've got to factor it in, especially if you're leaving and you have a flight out. Because I know guys here, some businessmen who are foreigners who, they got caught out because the bus took too long at the border. Instead of an hour or two, it ended up taking 4 or 5 hours, and they missed their flight. So, if you're going to fly out, then obviously you need to take that into account. You can also come from Hungary. Then you'd arrive close to Mukachevo or to Uzhhorod, which is an oblast called Zakarpatska Oblast. I made a vlog there about 15 months ago. I'll remember to put it down in the description here afterwards when I watch a replay, but you can go find that on my channel, as well as a city that doesn't have any curfew. So that's the next point. When you arrive in Odessa, for example, there is curfew from midnight to 5 a.m. The only part of the country that does not have curfew is the Zakarpatska Oblast. It's also an oblast that hasn't been hit by many rockets during the war, just once or twice. Same with Chernovtsi. So they can be quite popular and safer alternatives to going to cities that are like Odessa, Kyiv, or Lviv. Lviv is also struck a bit less than here in Odessa. So you have curfew. That means you cannot be outside in the street without any sort of justification. You need to carry your ID with you all the time. It's probably going to be your passport so that you can identify yourself. if you are stopped by the police or by the military here in Ukraine. And otherwise, everything else, in spite of Russia's attempt to terrorize this country, is going to work. So your cards will work, your phone should work, even your foreign SIM card if you're coming with a European or a American, say, SIM card. Most of my American plans, they have payment plans that actually extend coverage to here while they're in Ukraine. I always recommend you buy a local SIM card because it's going to be a lot cheaper and you're going to have faster and probably much more data connectivity. So you can go and do that. Normally, you can buy it at the airport. Well, you can't buy it on the airport on arrival in, say, Warsaw or Chisinau, but I know when you go to the bus station in, can you buy it at the bus station in Warsaw? No, that's you buy the Polish card. Yeah, when you arrive, I guess because you're not going to be flying into Ukraine, then you can buy it normally at the bus station. There might be a kiosk there. Unless you arrive very late and they're all closed, then you can get it the next morning in a phone shop. So I recommend you do that. So you have your phone set up. And yeah, it's just when electricity is out, that's the main inconvenience. That is something that's happened now. Will Russia continue to keep trying to blow it up every 2 weeks? That would be extremely expensive, looking at the amount of ordnance that they have to use, and they could use that to attack maybe military installations instead of trying to punish the civilian population even more than their tens of thousands of war crimes that they committed in the course of this phase of the war. We'll have to see. It is pretty cold at the moment, but not sub-zero. It's probably, I'd have to check, but it feels around freezing. We're also by the sea, so it feels a bit colder. So I'd say it feels about freezing. Got to be wrapped up, have a coat and stuff. Yeah, my situation, I have heating. It didn't seem to go off. So that's something that is good for me personally. Maybe it's not the same for everyone else. So Mariana, she had a clip on Instagram. My friend has been on this channel many times over, about 7 or 8 years. And yeah, she didn't have heating in her apartment. So that is a big issue at the moment in Odessa if you end up in those. So if you're coming, you're probably going to stay in an Airbnb apartment or a hotel. Just confirm that that is all okay. And yeah, obviously you should, as I mentioned in the previous live streams, this safety issue in Ukraine for an individual in a city like Odessa, even with the attacks last night that were the biggest since the beginning of the 2022 invasion by Russia. It's like about 1 in a million per day per capita. I think it's in the wrong place at the wrong time and being caught up in Russian basically terror attack here in say like Odessa or Kyiv. So it's not particularly dangerous from that point of view. However, you should factor in the psychological impact uh, for coming here, because I saw someone asked a comment about Ukrainian women. If your only interest is chasing girls, not sure this is the place for you if you want to have to have your sleep disrupted by Russian attacks, because it's quite loud, the explosions. And if you're not used to being here, like the local population is at this point, unfortunately, this is the situation, become acclimated to the conditions you find yourself in. Personally, I don't get particularly scared by when I hear drones or uh, explosions anymore at this point of the war. Touch wood, obviously, that I'm not in the or fingers crossed, because I don't know what to touch right here. That I'm not in the wrong place at the wrong time myself. But there's only a certain amount of things you can do about it, and safety is not really the main issue. From what I can see, it's more the psychological impact. Are you going to be okay with coming here? And maybe there are explosions, maybe there are things blown up. Maybe you won't be able to sleep because you're going to have to go down to an air shelter, like I did twice last night. I mean, there isn't. We have no electricity, and I'm not going to be able to sleep. So even aside of the safety element of it, it's I had electricity from a generator in the the shelter itself. So like, and I could use the internet anyways on my phone. My room was actually a bit better actually to go down to the shelter in general at that stage. So I did that and then slept in maybe 2 or 3 phases. So this is the reality. If you come here, I do have many guys who watch these live streams. Obviously, it's a very niche topic and destination for the last few years, and it's almost not for mass tourism. that's for sure. But many of you do come and you do support Ukraine. And I have my clients who are buying property here, getting residency because normally they have already a Ukrainian wife or partner, and they're committed to still coming back here pretty regularly, or even relocating part of the year and making their investments. So that is the situation on the ground. Not sure there's anything else I need to say. It was just such a big attack last night. I was actually wondering myself, is this the biggest of the entire Russo-Ukrainian war on this city? Uh, drones and rockets. It was an incredible amount. That was actually the total, I think, for the country. I rather need to double check that because, but there were swarms of like 50 drones coming in to the city at one occasion, because you can see on the Telegram channels that you can follow exactly what is the alarm about, what's going on in the city, whether things have been shut down, whether it's safe to come out again. So you have you have an app for air alerts. You can go look at, I think it's called Air Alert. And, if you are coming here and you want my bespoke advice, of course, you can go book consulting call. I have links to that down below in the description. I do also bring some of my clients here to Ukraine. Came with the last one in August. We went to Lviv, Chernovtsi, and then we went on to Chisinau in Moldova, and then here to Odessa. So it's obviously very niche to say, but if you are one of those guys, then you can reach out to me. My email is also down in the description to this video, connor@connorklein.com. I had started the live stream on the Geopolitics channel. There's also a link to the channel down below that I have my smaller Geopolitics channel. And then it turned out that the audio wasn't working on the live stream. So maybe I'll do another one for that channel tomorrow, because it's actually a little bit chilly. I'm not sure when it's stay out here for a super long time. Let's see if I have some sunlight. Maybe I go back and do another one on that channel. But yeah, the geopolitical situation in general, just in grosso modo, because I made that live stream about the 28-point peace proposal that Trump signed off. I'm not sure if you ever read it, but he signed off on it. It didn't look like it was written by anyone in the State Department. And yeah, there were a lot of guys who wrote me at that time and continued to write me about what's going on, the negotiations. I would not pay a huge amount of attention to the particulars of any of these peace proposals. The bottom line is that Vladimir Putin, even if he wrote the deal himself, is not going to want to pause the fighting now, because he wants complete victory in Ukraine. And many Russian officials have said that, again, reiterated that in the last few days. Of course, he faces constraints, like he needs solutions to money, manpower, and materiel. And he was in India trying to solve part of the problem with money, but resource prices are down. He's been their ability to get exports out is being restricted by Ukrainian attacks on their export industry to try to cut off some of the funds supplying the war. We had they're not doing particularly well on the battlefield in terms of moving it significantly. And it's less than 1% of Ukraine has been captured last year, with probably the estimates are around 400,000 casualties. That's killed in action and wounded in action, missing in action. So they estimate the main contention, one of the main contentions in this peace proposal, is that Ukraine needs to leave Donbass and basically hand it over to Russia in some format. And yeah, it would take, the estimate is that it would take Russia 2 to 3 years of further fighting to capture that. And probably you can add up how many casualties, a few 100,000 extra casualties. Ukraine's just not going to do that with the situation at the moment. Of course, things can change dramatically. You can have a collapse of either side. At the moment, we're in this impasse. So there's, as I said, Putin's not because his main priority is staying in power in Russia. And if he goes for medium to long-term capitulation of Ukraine, then what's he going to do in the short term? He could be in a lot of trouble in Russia. He's going to have to figure out what to do with all those soldiers, all those men mobilized who've been statistically killing people here for the last few years. And yeah, then they may come and cause problems for him at home. And he will be hard at this point to sell this as a huge victory. He could have done that, a lot earlier after the invasion, but now we're almost 4 years in, and that is his main priority: is staying in power and trying to create a legacy that he made Russia, reestablish the Russian Empire in this part of Europe. On the Ukrainian side, they face issues with getting financing for next year. They may have that solution from the European Union if they take out a loan on behalf of Ukraine, backed up by those frozen Russian assets. That should be sorted out next week or so. That's something to look out for. And then they have been mobilizing many men here, not particularly young men. You're not mobilized if you're under 25, and actually you can leave Ukraine if you're a man since August between 18 and 23. So they have been using more and more mobilized men, so not guys who volunteer to go to the military, but people who are conscripted, and that has caused a bit of an issue with desertion. Desertion has gone up in recent times. So that is one. These are the two main constraints on the battlefield itself. They recently took back Kupiansk, the city in the east of Ukraine and Kharkiv Oblast. That was a big embarrassment for Putin since he made this big statement that they had captured it, and then 2 weeks later, Zelensky's filming selfies at the entrance to the city. So, yeah, there seems to be a lot of evolutions in the fighting. I watched recently two films that, if you have the stomach for it, you should go and watch, which are 20 Days in Mariupol, which was shot at the beginning with the invasion when Russia basically sacked Mariupol, the city, probably killed tens of thousands of civilians as well. But you can see they were there for the first 20 days that they filmed in it. The siege went on for almost 60, and there you see how what the situation was like in 2022. Another film is 2,000 meters to Andriivka, which shows the Ukrainian offensive in the Donbass in summer 2023. You can see how things have evolved in terms of warfare. Now it's very different. Drones have developed quite uh, a lot since then, and so much of the fighting is now done by drones, especially close quarters, that basically a lot of the area between the two forces is covered by drones, and people can't really go between it very easily. So you have a huge no man's land or contested area nowadays, and it's a bit messy to figure out who's going to control what. However, Russians have been outside of Pokrovsk and the Munich conurbation for well over a year. I think it's like over 15 months at this point, and they control seems the center of Pokrovsk at the moment and parts of Minahrad. However, they not managed to take it. So this will go on, and the Ukrainian armed forces taking back Kupiansk is a huge morale boost for their military. And we'll see as we go into 2026 what the situation is on the if we take the international geopolitical high high level view, then we see that Donald Trump, he signed off on the national security strategy, which is something that's produced at the beginning of each U.S. administration. And this one was not written particularly professionally. It looked like more in terms of the language compared to the previous ones, including the first Trump administrations. And there was a huge change in tone. It echoes what we've seen with J.D. Vance at the Munich Security Conference back in 2022, basically presenting Ukraine's allies and Ukraine as problems and not Russia. So this is something I'll probably talk about on the Geopolitics channel in due course, because I have a theory about what's really going on with respect to that. Because 20 years ago, when I studied in the U.S. international relations, was a colleague I had who was working in Capitol Hill who told me about this idea to create an alliance between Russia and the U.S. and basically, let Russia invade and take back large parts of what has now become the European Union, or here in Ukraine that wants to become part of the European Union and have a Western orientation as opposed to living under Russia's yoke. So that is something I'll talk in more detail on that channel. And yeah, basically, I watched a few of the pro-Russian channels just to see what arguments they're making. They seem to also agree with me that Donald Trump will be in a weaker position to help Russia by the spring. So for Ukraine, the key now is to hang on until at least the summer, and then things presumably will be in a better position for them. It is very hard to know the real dynamics because of the fog of war. When one or the other sides could be in a real dire position, but it will and suddenly collapse. But we won't really know before too long before it actually happens. If you think what happened in Syria, they had a war going on for I don't know how many years. It was over a decade. I'm not sure the exact number of years, and then suddenly, within the space of weeks, Bashar al-Assad, his regime just collapsed. He wasn't back getting the support from Russia anymore. Something as a consequence of this war, Russia doesn't have the ability to project its power internationally like it did before, because they've spent so many of the resources on attacking this country and trying to destroy its independence from Moscow, you saw that he basically had to flee very quickly. So that is something that could happen for either side. But of course, we won't get much forewarning about it. There could also be another black swan event, which is something like we saw with the Prigozhin mutiny in Russia. It was like already 2 years ago, right? At least maybe 2.5 years ago, where suddenly there is a situation in Russia where Vladimir Putin is in danger of being removed in a coup d'etat of some sort. And yeah, also keep an eye on Chechnya and Kadyrov, because if there were a succession conflict there, if you were to pass away, then that could also lead to another strife within Russia. So I will leave the overview of that, since it is basically explained the situation here after what happened last night. Odessa stands strong still. Sometimes you get these messages about, well, Russia is about to take Odessa, you won't be there for long. It's like look at a map and see the rate of Russian progress and see how far away Odessa is. Plus, you got the river Dnipro in between, and they couldn't even take it in 2022. They basically went to Mykolaiv, couldn't get across, and had to go up north to Voznetsensk, and then they got defeated there, the Russian army, by the territorial defense of the small town of Voznetsensk. It's actually one that I have documented even on my channel. I think I put it in videos because I've been there. And so if you think they're going to land in Odessa next week, you're barking mad, or you're just, I guess you just want to say ridiculous stuff. To have me reply to it, but I don't take it very seriously. And yeah, unless there's a complete collapse, then this won't be happening. And in general, I may react to future peace proposals. There's actually a serious one. Yeah, Donald Trump could say there's going to be peace by Christmas, but he also said there'd be peace by Thanksgiving. Said he'd solve it within 24 hours, and he said he said solve it before it was inaugurated. So I would just ignore most of that as political machinations in general, trying to frame the information space in general by Vladimir Putin and by Vladimir Zelenskyy. With respect to Donald Trump, mainly they basically have to go along with it to a certain extent, trying to eke out some sort of advantage from engaging the negotiations, but there are no serious negotiations going on. Neither side is going to sign a deal. The crux of the problem is Ukraine doesn't want to be in Russia's sphere of influence. It's an independent country. It wants to join the European Union and be part of the collective West, because just look at Poland. Biggest success story over the last 25 years is Poland, booming economy, just the infrastructure is incredible, and they just made a beeline to join the European Union back in the 90s, and Ukraine didn't. They at least didn't want to go. And then Ukrainians here realized after a decade or two that, yeah, we can be like the Poles. Why are we hanging out with Moscow anymore? And Russia just doesn't accept that Ukraine has a right not to be in a sphere of influence. It wants to be an empire again and control its former territories that Moscow's been controlling for several centuries. And Vladimir Putin is a dictator who's been in power, over 25 years. And he doesn't want to go down in history as having not retaken Ukraine. There's like a famous adage from a book, I think it's called the Chessboard. I'll have to look it up again. What is it, the Grand Chessboard? By he was Polish American Zabinski. I can't remember how to pronounce it. I need to check it before I say it on these live streams. But I actually met him at a presentation before he died. It's when I was studying international relations. And yeah, basically, Russia without Ukraine can only be a regional power, can never be an empire. So that is part of the thinking, why it is so important for his legacy. But the most important thing for Vladimir Putin every day when he wakes up is, how does he stay in power tomorrow? Because he's a dictator. He's a ruthless, psychopathic dictator, and he's destroying Russia. But that's the Russian people's issue. They should have taken a collective different turn 20 years ago. And unfortunately, that's the situation at the moment. Not that I feel so sorry, considering what is going on and how many of those Russians sign up to kill people here. And it will only continue if they ever were to win in Ukraine. They'll be heading into other parts of Europe, because that's how empire works. So I'll go and look at your comments and questions. Keep them coming there. So, salut, David. I know that you're in Canada. Okay, Nomad let's see. Okay, Wayne says you moved your bus to Monday night. Yeah, that will probably be wise. Hopefully, we have electricity and everything working by then, at least part of the day. No, Melissa, I've read that most Ukrainian women fled the major Ukrainian cities like Kyiv and Odessa, and the cities are all men now. Is that true? So you hear so many stories about the gender balance in Ukraine. You have all the dodgy scammer, I guess, dating agency types, whatever. The definitely dodgy ones online. They're saying there are no men in Ukraine, and the women are waiting here to be saved or something. So back in 2022, men between 18 and 60 at the time could not leave Ukraine without permission. So mainly it was women and children left. So most single women versus single men, was just way more single women left. So you had an imbalance where you just had a lot of more Ukrainian men than women in the country. That has changed since then. A lot of women have come back from other parts of Europe. More men have left as well. They got permission to leave, or they illegally left the country. And as a result, it's kind of when you're out, it's normally balanced, I would say, if you walk around the center of Odessa. Maybe just slightly more women. At this point, depends where you go, of course. You might go to maybe a bar just before curfew, and it's probably going to have more men. And if you're hanging out in the cafe during the day, in general, it's probably slightly more women. In the big cities here, yeah, there are still lots of women. I think it's, yeah, during the day, it's more, slightly more women in the cafes when I'm, at least here in the center of Odessa and in Arcadia, the seaside area. So I don't know where you read that, but it doesn't seem to match with the reality here in Ukraine on the ground. And yeah, so if you have any more questions, not so many people planning probably to come to Ukraine at the moment with this current situation. But there is the update from the ground here. I will give you a more in-depth live stream coming up about whether this war will come to an end in 2026. I'm going to hold off probably this weekend. I was going to do it tomorrow, but considering that I'm doing this live stream right now, maybe I'll save it for another week or two. And I'll also, when I'm probably better to do it at Christmas market, either in Chisinau or maybe Yashin, Romania, Chisinau, Moldova. I'll do one about the best place to go this winter in the region, since that is what the channel's main focus is about. And yeah, I will be going this winter. I'm certainly back to Almaty in Kazakhstan. I'm going to have to get my skis ready. That is the plan in late January for now, but we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. But it was in Kazakhstan when it was back in October, so it was great to get back there. But that was a postponed trip for like over a year to get back there. So fingers crossed on that. If you're interested in my assistance with either coming here to Ukraine or my knowledge about where to go in the region, or live my premium in-person immersion known as the New Europe experience, we can go bring my clients to Tallinn in Estonia, Riga in Latvia, Vilnius in Lithuania, Warsaw, Poland, Chisinau, Moldova, and Almaty and Astana in Kazakhstan. There is an application form down below in the description to this live stream. Also, you'll see links there to my consulting. Go book a consulting call with me, and we can figure out the strategy to and also, yeah, we got the two guidebooks. If you happen to be coming to Ukraine or to Moldova, then you can go and purchase those as well. I'm not sure there's anything else. Yeah, if you want to support this kind of public announcement, public service content in this shape of my live streams here, then you can also become a member of the channel, or you want to show me money, you can also send it to me on PayPal, I guess, or Wise or Revolut or something. It's my email address, the one down below. And yeah, I think that's Jack. Isn't that right? Waved. How are you? Are you back in Ukraine, or I think you were hanging out in Kyiv or planning to go to Kyiv at a certain point? Let me know how you're getting on. So just to recap, we had our biggest rocket and drone attack of this war in Odessa last night. It's taken out much of the energy infrastructure, and we don't know how many days it's going to take to restore that. And yeah, this is just a situation. It isn't as dramatic as living through the Blitz. My grandparents lived through that, so my grandparents and were involved in World War II, and their situation was a lot more dire than it is being here in a city like Odessa at the moment. The nature of warfare has changed. Russia can't fly jets over us, but they can fly these drones and shoot these rockets at us on a frequent basis. But last night was the biggest, and that seems to be the strategy. Doesn't work historically, but that seems to be the Russian way. And hopefully it will all be restored pretty soon. But the main drawbacks, if you do come here, it's more the psychological impact of being here and with explosions potentially and with being in the wrong place at the wrong time in terms of seeing something, obviously, for your own safety. But that's kind of the lesser of the two issues, in my opinion. You can, of course, choose to go to a different part of Ukraine where there's a less attacks. Like go to Zakarpatskyi Oblast. There's no curfew there even. See like Uzhhorod, or you can go to Lviv, or where it's less than here. It's not as safe, shall we say, as being in Uzhhorod or being in Chernovtsi, which is a city on the border between Romania and Moldova. Also made a couple of videos from there back in 2021 and 2022. Yeah, I added it up in 2022. Yeah, we spent a great time there. Very beautiful city. As you can see, you've got beautiful European architecture as well here. Same architects as the Viennese Opera House. So the city had a lot of, we'll say, Central and Western European architects who came here. You got the Primorsky stairs over there, which was immortalized in the cinema of Sergei Eisenstein, a film called Battleship Potemkin. What? Let's see. Jack says he's still in GA. I guess that's Georgia. Orcs hit the main natural gas hubs, which transports gas to make electricity. So 2 to 4 hours of electricity is now the new normal per day. Okay, thanks for that update. Ooh, it is a little bit chilly. I'm actually only wearing a t-shirt underneath, so I think I'll be putting more layers on going forward, and maybe a hat on my head when it gets a bit colder than this. You can also go skiing in Ukraine, by the way. You can go skiing in Bukovel. It's in the west of Ukraine. So I guess if I'm going to go skiing in Kazakhstan in this winter, that's also because you can go skiing within 45 minutes of Almaty. Maybe also, if I have my skis with me, I need to go and pick them up if I'm going to use them on that trip. Then I may actually also ski in the west of Ukraine, make a vlog of content that will be coming up on my channel. We're having added up a video about traveling to Ukraine, which is apt, that I shot over this year, mainly in the summer. And that should be ready next week or so. And then, there should be the tree fashion show vlog videos will be Riga, Vertical Fashion, Riga, Chisinau, and Almaty, and summer vlog from Chisinau in Moldova. Been great making those vlogs. Lots of fun. 2022, 23, 24, and 25. That'll be the fourth summer vlog. Never would have thought I would have spent as much time in Moldova. If you'd asked me in 2021, I did go there with a client in 2019, but yeah, it's been a city that I've been going to quite a lot with clients as well. It seems like there's a renewed interest in Kazakhstan amongst my clients, which is kind of interesting. But I haven't made content from there for a few years. So, any further questions, thoughts, questions? If you are comments, if you are watching this on replay, I'll try to update the description with anything I've mentioned, put in some chapters and stuff to make it easier to go through it. And yeah, that is the current situation here in Odessa. Just a reminder, if you are coming to always read the news, make sure you understand, like Wayne, he delayed his bus by a day. He was actually going to come tomorrow to Odessa, and he's going to come on Monday, just because probably the electricity will be back to a certain extent. The Ukrainian authorities will repair it as soon as possible, but that is going to be, a bit of an issue if you come to Odessa in the next week or so. Hopefully, it's not longer than that. And yeah, if you come here, you can always reach out to me. My email again is connor@connorklein.com. Everything is down below in the description to this live stream. Also for the in-person experience, the in-person immersion at the application form. Got my consulting link, and you got the guides for Moldova and Ukraine as well. All of that will be of great help to you if you're planning to come here. And again, you can become a member of the channel as well if you want to buy me a cappuccino, basically, because it's still around €2 for a cappuccino here. It's like $2, 30, 40. So it's priced accordingly. So, or you can, cappuccino for Connor rhymes better than flat white. I actually will drink a flat white instead. So, any final comments or questions for the guys who are on here? I know it's very early in the States. Normally I do these live streams 2 hours later than I started tonight's, just so people can join from the States. But if you're watching a replay, then drop me a message down below. Just wanted to do it somewhere that's not noisy, and because I obviously no electricity in my apartment, can't film it there. And you see the sun is starting to go down. Oh yeah, so it's definitely time to end this one. And yeah, Slava Ukraini, Param Slava, Do Peremoghi, and Ukraine stands strong. I'm still confident in Ukraine's success ultimately in resisting Russian aggression, but this is some of the tougher stuff that you have to go through during the biggest war in Europe since World War II. And for you guys who are coming, just remember to check the situation where you're going to stay in terms of electricity over this winter, and have thought a bit about it. Definitely bring lots of warm clothes in case the heating goes off for some reason where you're staying. It seems like I'm going to be fine on that particular point. And again, if you are coming, most people are traveling from Poland to Lviv first, then on to Kyiv. If you're American or European, just you have to double check that your country, your passport will allow you visa free. You normally have 90 every 180 days. That's the only thing you need coming in. And yeah, just get a local SIM card as soon as you can. That's what I recommend. Just it's a lot easier for you once you're here in terms of price. Well, I mean, it only costs, it will definitely be less than $10, maybe €8. It's even less than that. It'll cover you for a month. And just remember, curfew is from midnight to 5 a.m. If you arrive after curfew and you've got your suitcase, in Odessa, you won't be able to take a taxi, so you'll have to walk to your accommodation. In some other cities, it is possible to use a taxi app, like Bolt is quite a common one to use. And then, yeah, that's just if you come out. It's not like you're going to be arrested if you walk with your suitcase and you're on your way to, if there are police to stop you, because they'll understand that why you're out after curfew, you're going to your accommodation. And yeah, the other things to remember is, yeah, not much else other than that, I think, because you'll have just download the apps for the air alerts and some telecom channels, depending on where you are, that you should also download. I think there's one called Radar here. For it depends on which city that you're going to, though. There's normally regional ones on Telegram, and then you get a bit more information. But the most important stuff, the air alerts in general, and go to the shelters if it is particularly rough situation. That's what I recommend. And other than that, your cards will work. You shouldn't have any issues with things like that, with changing money, cards. It still works. As in, I'm doing this live stream in spite of everything that happened in the last 24 hours. And yeah, just the electricity is the main issue right now, but hopefully that will improve. And monitor app. Okay. You can maybe, Jack, say a little bit of description about that, and then I'll finish up the live stream. It was whistling. But, or you can leave a comment under the live stream. It's going to take a bit longer. Anyways, going to leave it at that because I'm going to wrap it up. As you can see, the sun is setting and it's getting a bit chillier here in Odessa. So, do pobачення, and see you in the next video, or on this live stream more likely. Or I do have another program for guys who are actually coming to Ukraine. Should also put the link to that. Forgot to mention it earlier. For guys who are coming here and want to invest, it's Ukraine from Destruction to Opportunity. And obviously for guys who are investors, guys who are considering relocation either now or after the end of this war, and our businessmen who are just interested in getting in early and having first mover advantage here in Ukraine. I'll also drop down below if it's not. I'll put it in a few minutes once I finished up this live stream. So with that said, ciao, ciao, and Slava Ukraini once more.